Talking with Words.
Welcome back to Talking with Words. You're here with Rob.
James.
And Ryan.
And I believe Taylor is still shitting.
Are him and Alan sharing this time, or?
It's a number 4 if you hold hands, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Tonight we're going to watch 2005's The Descent, which you have, I think the one I'm thinking of is As Above, So Below.
Yes.
I think that was the one I was thinking of.
I know you've seen this film. We've talked about it.
Maybe. We'll find out in a minute. If you don't know about this movie, it's described as a caving expedition goes horribly wrong as the explorers become trapped and ultimately pursued by a strange breed of predators. Yum. Starring Shauna McDonald, Natalie Mendoza, Alex Reed, Mayanna Buring. Was she in The Witcher, I think? I don't recognize a lot of these people. I recognize the writer, Neil Marshall. He did Dog Soldiers.
Oh, yeah.
Writer and director. Didn't he do Doomsday?
I think so, yeah.
I think he did both of those. Anyway, anybody got the Parents Guide, or want me to just do it?
I can do it if you would like me to.
Go for it.
Let me get to it.
Do it.
I'm going to join my first Duca in a while.
Oh. So, the Parents Guide is rated R for strong violence, gore, and language. Sex and nudity, mild. Violence and gore, severe. Profanity, moderate. Alcohol, drugs, and smoking, mild. Frightening and intense scenes, severe. Is that a good Sally?
It was your first try.
It was good.
I'll give you a pass.
That's fair. I'll work on that.
Anything we need to know going into this?
James is going to love it.
One of those.
I'm going to prepare some eye bleach.
And some reactions. All right. Let's hit it then. Let's watch some weird cave people.
All right.
Yeah.
Cave people.
The Descent.
Hey-o.
James,
And we're back.
how much did you like that movie?
It got my adrenaline going a few places. Probably not where you'd expect.
You got taken by the first jump scare right out of the gate.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, they were
A couple of them.
They were pretty fast and furious there at the beginning with the jump scares. I mean, by the third one, it's like, all right, just stop it already. Kind of got numb to it at that point. Because like once you've been jump scared 2 or 3 times, it's like, all right, you're expecting one every turn,
Yeah.
and then it doesn't happen.
You're prepped for it at that point.
Yeah,
True.
but I huge vibes of don't go in there.
Stay out of that hole.
That belong in any movie like this.
Yeah, this whole movie was don't go in there.
It's like every time you turn around, you're like, you don't have enough gear. You don't have enough lights. You didn't bring the map.
No extra batteries.
No extra batteries. No real weapons. Just climbing tools, I guess. And
I don't think they were planning on getting into a fist fight while they were down in the cave.
plus, it's freaking cold in caves. They were all dressed like they were on a riverboat tour.
They pretty much had the same gear from when they were rafting the first bit.
Yeah. Just like that. I mean, that's just a gear oversight. That bugged me so bad. It's like, it would be so cold down there, and they're not even showing any effects of temperature. They didn't eat.
They had apples in the first stop.
You know how much energy they would be burning to go through that, especially in the cold? I mean, the level of exertion, the cold, the intense, frightening scenes.
It sounds like from your experience, you know an awful lot about
Well, I'm gonna
spelunking energy consumption.
Well, I'm just going to need a snack just from the scares I got from this movie.
Yeah, I was thinking of Bruce Wayne's spelunking gear.
Yeah.
What they really needed in this cave. Mm-hmm. Starts off pretty rough with Sarah's husband and kid dying in the Final Destination style. except it's copper tubing instead of a tree truck.
Yeah, tree truck. What was the second one? Poles that went through the
It's like some
in the drive-through or whatever.
Some copper piping.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you have a head-on collision with a plumber.
Yeah, I didn't know where that was going, but we got there pretty quick.
Yep.
Shit rolls downhill. That's the first thing they teach you in plumbing school.
Touche.
I did expect there to be something else with her because she was taking the meds and everything. I thought there was going to be something about her freaking out down there and seeing stuff that wasn't there. Yeah. Nope.
Her friend just tried to convince her she was seeing stuff that wasn't there.
Yeah.
Once or twice. Of course, she was also sleeping with her husband prior to death.
Yeah, they started off really quick with the there's no question that they're banging. Juno and her husband.
So obvious.
Get out of the...
Yeah. And what's her name? Beth caught it immediately.
Yeah. And then she was also the one to open her eyes to it with the Juno's necklace and all that fun stuff.
Right after she got suicided.
Yeah. And did they say the first when they were rafting, was that in Scotland? Or was it just alluded to? So they came all the way to Scotland.
Yeah.
And then the next one's the Appalachian Mountains.
Yeah, I mean it was in Europe somewhere. I'm just gonna assume by the Scotland comment they were probably in Scotland.
Yeah.
I don't know my European dialects that well and whether or not those were Scottish accents or
Didn't matter anyway at the end.
yeah.
They got out of there pretty quick. Especially old Juno. And then we have every single time, there were two things that happened that bugged me. Every time they were in a car, they were going way too fast and reckless. And then no one learned, hey, don't run through a cave that is unmapped and we have no idea where any pitfalls might be. The entire time they're running. And that's where you start the whole fall with Holly.
It's just poor decision making.
Yeah, that's how you get
Of course.
compound fractures.
I mean, that was issue number 39 in a long slew of poor
Bad
decisions. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, they filed their flight plan in the wrong location. They didn't take the guidebook, which it didn't matter because that's not where they were.
Yeah, they weren't even in a cave that was mapped. And then they started out with a
Would
cave
have been mapped. Just wasn't in a book.
Right, it did. There were people in there. Miners, apparently.
With an ER, not an OR.
Miners.
Ah, good point.
Miners. And they had the old pin, what did they say, 100-year-old pin in the cave ceiling,
Yeah.
which I think is where we started the blood fun, was when they got trapped almost immediately.
Well, I like how they ramped it up. I mean, at first
Yeah.
it's just a normal cave exploration. No one's really freaked out until the first, like, oh, I'm stuck.
Right.
And there's a little bit of scare, and you're like, oh, they're going to get her unstuck. It's going to unstuck. And then there's like a freaking cave in,
Yeah.
and that's when shit starts to hit the fan. It all comes to light that they're not in the right cave. They
Can't
don't
go
have
back.
any of the safeties.
They lost some of their
And
gear.
that's about the same time frame where you start seeing hints of the creature. You know.
Well, you saw it in that first one when
Yeah.
Sarah was looking around with the flashlight and it was there, and then it wasn't there. The shadow.
Yeah. The shadow was there, and then
I saw it twice. I think I missed one of them.
So there were 2 or 3 where you actually see the creature, and there were a couple where you see like saliva or snot or whatever
Yeah.
dripping down,
Yeah.
and she goes to check it, and it's she sees the water dripping,
Right.
but there's no
It's a different sound.
different sound and different visual effect there.
Yeah. Because we got a good one of that later on.
Yeah. Because it's kind of the same like in Aliens when they open up and it just kind of
Yeah.
oozes down. You had that same scene twice or 2 different times.
Yes. Yeah. The
And
first
it's-
time you actually see it for real, and then when she's like, it's dripping on her head.
Yeah. Well, they had it early on
Yeah.
where you catch it like before everything else started happening.
Yeah.
And then that's where you see the water drops, and then you see it again, and then it's on her face.
On her face. In her eyes. And we got our first really good reaction from James when Juno fell and the rope cut
Oh yeah,
Sam's hand.
some
Sliced
serious
it
rope
open.
burn.
Yeah.
Almost took it down on the bone on one or two of those fingers.
Looked pretty good.
Yeah, that's it's one of those injuries that really gets to me because it means you can't fight or flee as well as the next person.
Cutting the palm's not good.
You just need a little morphine.
Yeah, and there's definitely wasn't enough screaming and pain for what she was going through.
They were strong chicks. And then that's followed up almost immediately by, oh, it's this way. And Holly just
She
dives.
mistakes the phosphorus for sunlight.
Yeah. And we get our compound fracture shot.
Which was even worse for me.
James
I couldn't look at
loved
that.
it.
And then I couldn't look at it because I see the bones sticking out. And then not looking at it made me hear the sounds.
Yeah,
It's
the
like,
sound.
oh, God, no, stop it.
And then you got to shove it back in there. Just shove that bone in the tight
Twist
hole.
it.
And I'm here trying to imagine that
Jiggle it.
that the sound that they're making couldn't possibly be what bones sound like. And Ryan's like, no, that's pretty accurate.
Nope, that's
Damn it.
accurate. Not because I've heard it a handful of times.
They grind together pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
That's the noise. And from there, I mean, it's pretty much adrenaline the rest of the movie.
It's balls to the wall for the next 30 or 40 minutes.
Which part was it, Ryan? Oh, you made the noise when the fingernails.
Yeah. That's
They grabbed Becca.
fingernails being ripped out or broken out is the only thing that ever really. And there's like this one, and the only other one I can think of off the top of my head that just gets me every time is that Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake
beginning.
with Jessica Biel
Yeah, that opening where it shows them grabbing.
coming down the wall, and you see the nail just peel all the way back. And
Yeah.
Eeh. I don't love it.
You can't make a fingernail necklace without popping off some fingernails.
Isn't that how we got the tooth the other day?
Got it
Huh.
off the necklace.
Didn't taste that bad.
It don't taste bad going in. Coming out's the problem.
Tingles.
Stay tuned. We'll have that movie edited at some point in the near future. Juno was a pretty much of a badass.
She treated herself like the group badass pretty much the entire time.
She killed a bunch of them.
But I mean, even from the get-go, she was like the lead adventure chick or whatever.
Yeah, it was her idea to go spelunking. cave
Let's go
diving.
down the cave that we didn't file a flight plan for and
Yeah,
all this other stuff.
and she's the one that got jumped on after the creature bit out Holly's throat.
Yeah, after tried to take Holly and
Holly wasn't
she
going
just-
anywhere anyway. After her compound fracture, she was pretty much dead in the water,
Yeah.
Yeah.
literally. And then she got her throat ripped out. And then as Juno was fighting that one off, turned around and accidentally stabbed Beth in the throat with her climbing,
pickaxe.
whatever that thing was. The
Yeah.
shink, the sword sound they like to make.
Yeah.
Talk about your friend just stabs you fatally or near fatally, and the one thing you can't do is yell at her because it was right through the neck. It's
Yeah.
like, this is very unsatisfying. I'm going to die and I can't chew you out for it.
Scream and draw attention to herself.
Yeah.
Turns out that was an advantage. Well, and
I mean, long term, it
Prolonging
didn't
her
really matter
agony.
for her.
Yeah.
yeah, she just lived longer than she really wanted to.
Just long enough to give Juno up for banging Sarah's husband
Yep.
with her little,
Provide the evidence.
yeah, there was a
With
necklace.
Her feather necklace that said, love every day.
Yeah.
Was the saying.
I really didn't understand how she got that,
How she got what?
the necklace.
So I'm going to assume that Sarah's husband, David,
I missed the husband's name.
I think the husband's name was David. I'm going to assume that at some point during their
Paul.
That was close.
David, Paul.
At some point during their infidelities, he gave it to her as a gift, and that was his favorite saying because she starts tearing up in the cabin. She makes the same comment looking at whatever climbing photo or rafting photo they had. She was like, "Oh, love every day."
Well, did you mean how
she got
Sarah
it?
or Beth got it?
Yeah. She rip it off her neck. Or
Oh
something?
yeah. So when she got stabbed through the throat and went to fall back, she clutched at her.
Oh, and pulled it off.
And pulled off the necklace, and she made sure to keep it in her hand, even as the the creature was. Yeah, that's what she said.
Chompity chomp chomp chomp.
Yep.
Eating. Doing phrasing.
Yeah. There were a lot of lesbian joke opportunities in this one.
Well, they made it easy.
Yeah.
And the cave just got juicier as the movie went on.
And
bloodier.
wetter. A lot of moisture in that cave.
Yeah.
We
They
hit
all
rock
took a little
bottom
blood
in
to the face.
The blood pool
Yeah.
is what was freaking me out. I mean, where did they get that much blood even?
You saw the dead bodies, right?
The carry pool,
Yeah.
which I did like the Rambo. She goes underwater for
Yeah.
15 seconds and then just slowly.
I thought she was drowning, and then they did that as I see what you're doing.
Had to be really quiet about coming
Blood
out of
is
the
denser than water.
But there's something pretty real about when you see somebody with blood covering their face and then, just like huge whites in their eyes popped out
Yeah.
and there's no reason left. It's just like murder.
She
Kill
is
'em
on
all.
their mind.
She had the good manic face there when
She
she
did.
saved Juno from falling.
Well, yeah, because she hadn't taken her medicine.
Oh, yes, of course.
For her manic depressiveness.
Well,
Which, after watching your husband and child be
Impaled
skewered,
yeah,
with copper tubing.
probably worth a couple prescriptions.
yeah, I figured I'd take advantage of that if I were in her situation.
I had free healthcare over there in the UK.
Got the good stuff.
Yeah. And I did like they showed the miner helmet earlier, and then
Yeah, Sarah found the helmet.
and she also got the kerosene lantern and made her little torch out of it.
Resourceful.
That was pretty good. I like that.
So they saw the pin in the wall, and Juno was still insistent that nobody had ever been down there.
Right.
And then she comes back with the helmet, and she's still insistent that nobody's down here. Nobody's ever been down here.
Right. You're seeing things because, of course, she's
Yeah.
not going to believe her.
Oh, no. Just like you weren't seeing me sleep with your husband repeatedly last year.
Right. And who was it? Sam, the gal from The Witcher, who is not a good climber or a strong climber, was the one that decided to go across that
Yeah.
second chasm. And
Just a little panic.
that one,
She was also missing the skin on her left hand.
yeah, because she kept grabbing her hand, but it was very disorienting how they kept turning the camera, just rotating the camera around. And then when you see the creature come out,
She was moving the opposite direction as the camera rotating as well.
and the creature was hanging upside down from the ceiling, so that made it even more funky. And then it just ran at her and gave her a nice throat rip.
Slashed the throat, and she made one last ditch effort to.
She got it with her knife.
I was hoping that she was going to latch onto it. The first time I saw this movie, because I've seen it, this is probably the fourth time I've watched it
Yeah.
since it came out. And the first time I watched it, I remember thinking she's going to grab on because she's got the knife in her mouth, grab it, and then cut the rope up top and take them both down.
Oh.
Because, at that point, you're rapidly bleeding out.
Yeah.
You've got about 9 seconds before you likely lose consciousness, especially being upside down.
Yeah, that was a good shot of when she laid her head back and rotating with the light, her headlamp,
Yeah.
and then the blood just flowing
Trickling.
out of her neck.
Yeah, she did a good job of going limp there.
And James,
Nothing.
I was just letting it hang.
Touche.
James is over there. Good. Yes, let the hate flow through you.
Well, at some point you got to remember that they can see, the creatures can't, and they might be, strong and used to their environment, but being able to see them and they can't directly see you is a huge advantage. You should be able to,
bat-like ears, though.
I mean, unless you're outnumbered, you should be, and you've got any kind of weapon in hand, you should be able to haul back and just hit them in a weak spot without them knowing.
Should be able to. The only piece of that, well, if they've got bat-like hearing,
You think that you're breathing and
right? And so that was the only piece I didn't like when he was standing over him. Nobody's going to be breathing that calmly and low enough that something, a creature with very acute hearing is not going to hear that. So you think that would be an issue because there wasn't enough wind flow or airflow going through there to really throw that off.
And multiple times, they were close enough. They were touching them in some cases close enough to like smell their breath or their body. Or, I mean, how many senses do these crawlers have?
Yeah,
The only thing they have left is sense of sound. They don't have touch. They don't have sight.
I thought about the smell thing, but they crawled through like 3 different bodies of water.
Yeah, the water plus the mud plus like there at the end when he's sitting, the one you were talking about where the creature is sitting on top of Sarah. She had just crawled out of that puddle of blood. And so she smells like everything else in that room because that room just, reeks of the
Well, what about her body
40
temperature?
gallons of blood there.
I'm my paw's on a warm rock. How'd that rock get warm?
And hairy.
Yeah.
They did have 2 recently deceased bodies in that same area. So, and body temperature doesn't drop, but, after you've been dead a couple hours, you start dropping a degree or a degree and a half, something like that. So it's cold down there. She's still in the range of what those other 2 dead bodies they just dragged off was.
Probably more than that because they had those, and then they had like 2 or 3 dead.
They had a dead deer or a dead moose or
but
dead
the other creatures that they had killed,
Yeah.
at least 2 more, because she just killed the woman creature,
yeah.
our barbarian-looking chick.
Yeah. So there's 4 or 5 options for what it could have been. But again, if they have that acute of hearing, you would think that her heavy breathing, I mean, she's in slightly better shape than I am, but if I've just gotten a serious tussle, I'm still going to be breathing heavy.
Her meds help her maintain her breathing. That was right before the meds wore off.
Keep that heart rate low.
Yeah.
All right. Fair point.
I do not do well with the really tight space things. That just made me uncomfortable. Like those
Little claustrophobic there, Rob?
those YouTube videos you see of like the people going in and it's like just big enough to fit their body. I'm like, no, I'm not watching this.
Nope, hard pass.
I can watch someone get their tongue ripped out, but I'm not gonna watch somebody go in a cave.
So we all had a trigger in this movie?
Apparently.
Yeah. So like
That's a first.
The only other real in Aliens where Bishop climbs in that piping to crawl down and he's crawling with his arms at his side.
Yeah.
Like ever since I was a little kid, that made me so uncomfortable. And a couple of those cave scenes, like especially right before that cave in, it's like, ooh, no.
Yeah, her arms are tucked.
If I can't physically turn my body around in that space, I don't want to be there.
Yeah, that's not for me.
The most cave I've ever been in was Devil's Den, and not all the way through any of them, just like parts of it.
I usually stay out of caves.
Yeah.
Meryl might be in there.
Well, and I'm not counting
That's
like the
scary.
tourist caves where basically you on a walking path.
Like they said, it's too touristy. There's stairs and a handrail in this one.
See a couple bats. little stalactite action. But I did like. I thought the end they were gonna be like, "We'll finish this when we get out of here," and she's like, "No."
Time to sacrifice somebody.
Gave Juno the 1-2 punch because it's all about outrunning the next person if you're gonna get out of a situation like that.
I don't have to outrun all the creatures. I just have to outrun you.
Exactly.
Well, Juno's sins had been stacking up for a while. I mean, the infidelity starting it, and probably the least of it. But then, the accidental or the totally stupid plan to go into a cave that's never been explored and just figure we'll find out.
Yep.
Well, I mean, if you really want to think about it, the original car crash where Sarah and Paul she's concerned about him or whatever, and his head is elsewhere.
Yeah.
We know where his head is. His head is thinking about Juno.
Yeah.
And so if they wouldn't have been sleeping together, he wouldn't have been distracted,
Take
and
it all the
everybody
way
would have
back.
died, and the movie would have had a happy ending 6 minutes in.
Well, I did. Well, the end. Kid and husband dead. She's going freaking out in the hospital. The end.
Well, they wouldn't be dead if he wouldn't have been sleeping with Juno.
Yeah.
Although that is the longest hospital haul I've ever seen in my life.
That was like
With
the
patient
first part
rooms.
of her
Yeah.
going nuts. They even say
like
the hallucinations, paranoia, all that fun stuff.
It
Talk
reminded
about
me
it at
of
the beginning.
it reminded me of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh,
I feel like they use that trick in like just about every single one of them.
they do have a lot of long hallways in Nightmare.
And just that and the lights flashing as you go down the hallway.
The lights shutting down.
They use that in Event Horizon a couple times too.
That's a go-to for sure.
Oh yeah.
But it looked good.
Yeah. They had some nice nods to some of the old horror films. I mean, Sarah was very Carrie-esque
Oh yeah.
coming out of that.
After her bloodbath,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing gets you in the mood quite like a bloodbath.
it really
Carrie was more of a blood shower, but
it's more refreshing than you think. And then also going
exfoliates
up
the pores.
the cliff of bones at the end there, which that's the one spot like. So do they come up to the surface?
So
They kill the elk.
if we want to pause this real quick and watch The Descent 2,
Figure that out real quick, will we?
maybe not real quick, but
I'm already guessing
get there.
how Descent 2 probably
you'd be
one of
wrong.
one of the big plot lines. I'm guessing already.
Do you think they descend?
They do.
Yep, they are. That group of ladies is always going down.
Speaking of, I like their tagline
Bam.
for this movie: the scariest movie in Earth.
Ah, wordplay
Wordplay.
and more inside stuff. It's always inside
All in the
stuff.
hole.
And then, of course, you have to have one more jump scare before credits roll.
I really liked how they did the, strangely enough, the ascent at the end where she's getting out over the bones and the sunlight coming up.
That shot of her crawling
I
up
don't
in
know.
that angle.
I wonder how they worked that one out.
Spinal cords provide very good grip.
There were so many spinal cords. There were a lot of people.
Maybe Predator was feeding them.
Yeah. Ah, my pretties. No, but that shot was really pretty because it had that one source of light down the whole shaft. And
Oh, yeah.
it was a bone shaft.
Yeah. Very solid.
She got up it.
And just the shot of her birthing
Yeah.
there at the top of the canal.
Well, she came out at the end. We know that. You had the Evil Dead hand action.
Yeah.
It was good.
And she continued driving even more recklessly.
Yeah, once again, driving like an insane person. And then almost
She looked
getting
like Ace Ventura driving that Jeep and
just the
When
bouncing.
Nature Calls.
And then she almost got hit by the log truck, which was a nice little.
Yep.
if she needed therapy before this trip, I don't know if she's ever going to recover.
Just give up.
Yeah, that's a lot of I'm a adrenaline junkie, but this shit's not working out. Might be time to give it up and
Need to switch to crocheting or
think of
something.
knitting. Yeah, exactly.
I would never be able to live in a dark space again. I'd have to sleep with the lights on.
Yeah, you'd be seeing those little Blade 2 vampire-looking guys all over the place every time you turned out a light.
Bald people would freak me out. Bald people with no suntans, get away.
Couldn't be friends with Bailey anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say, was Bailey uninvited to Rocklahoma, or
That gives me an idea. We just get gray makeup for Rocklahoma.
Oh, I think that's a phenomenal idea.
just gonna have him hover over your room in the camper?
No, please, no.
You're gonna wake up and not go back to sleep the rest of the
You
weekend.
value your throat. Don't do that because
You're gonna bite it.
it'd be friendly stabbing.
Rob, I'm gonna need to borrow some makeup for Rocklahoma.
Not a problem. What else? Ryan, you've seen this
I've seen it a few times.
multiple.
Yeah, it's I watched it last week and I texted you guys as it was done. I was like, you know what? James will love this movie.
Love may not be the correct word. There were
But-
things I liked about it. Would I have ever chose to watch this movie? Hell no.
Yeah. No, before last week, I probably watched the movie 4 or 5 years ago, aside from the 15 minutes we had it going at Doe's one night. And then before that, it was probably a year after the movie came out that I watched it.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
I rented it from a Blockbuster.
Oh, that'll tell you something.
Yeah, if that tells you how long ago it was when I watched it for the first time. And there's, like I said, aside from last week, there's probably 5 to 7 years in between each occurrence of me watching it.
Oh, the Buster. I miss it. I don't miss going to it
Yeah.
and then being out of Adam's family.
Did you cry yourself to sleep that night?
Yeah, I always did. What else? I mean, it was a short movie.
Yeah, safety in numbers, ladies.
Yeah, they did
As
split up
soon as
constantly.
they scattered as soon as it happened. Like, okay, if you think there's only 1 or 2 of them, at that point, on that initial contact, it's 4.5 on 1.
Yeah, back to back,
Yeah.
and don't run. Every
But,
time
yeah.
they ran, something.
What have we learned about running in caves?
It's bad.
Don't do that.
You slip and break a bone in a hole.
It's bad. Okay.
It's interesting to me the timing on this. Lord of the Rings and Gollum,
Yeah,
who bears a striking resemblance to the crawlers.
especially that first one that was drinking out of the
Yeah.
little.
Lord of the Rings
Puddle.
came out 2001.
That
film.
sounds
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Give or take.
And this movie came out 2005. So I
Yeah.
wonder if that was part of their process.
I mean, it looked the creatures looked familiar to a lot of other creatures, and they were like, "Oh, they evolved." Like, how long have they been down there? Their ears were all clipped, and
Bat-like.
yeah, and the eyes didn't
Well,
work. Mouths were
get-
deformed. It's got to take.
So,
a little while.
some of that mining equipment would have been from the late 1800s.
Yeah,
So you're talking, let's call it 1880, 1890 to 2005. You're talking 4 or 5 generations.
of these things. breeding.
Honestly, probably more, because if you're relying on snagging an animal at night, or the very
Yeah.
limited number of
Short
cavers that come
lifespan.
through, yeah.
Yeah, true.
So if the average lifespan is only 30 years, and the women are popping them out at 15, 16, 17,
12.
yeah. You're talking 6, 8 generations. What does it take to?
And they lost speech and everything else.
Yeah. What does it take to evolve generation to, or evolve, devolve, adapt, whatever?
So ask
To
the
their-
X-Men.
Well, I'm wondering if they were the ones their ancestors were the ones that drew the cave paintings.
Quite possibly.
So, I mean, maybe they've always been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was the miners were just collateral damage.
Yeah, because if it's not the miners, then right.
Because there were quite a few. I mean, the miners could have been. You know, I'm just thinking of that from
the first human victims.
Yeah, the first human victims. I was just thinking of it from The Hills Have Eyes.
Oh yeah,
where they started
the inbreeding and all that fun stuff.
Yep. Because I mean, we only saw one female in the whole group, and a dozen males total is what we saw, 12 to 15 max.
Yeah, it looked like.
And we did hear a child in there somewhere. So I mean, your dating pool down there is limited.
Not a lot of prom action going on in the Caves Have Ears community.
It's a constant reenactment of Carrie's prom every year.
Yeah.
Well, one of my friends said this was her favorite movie, so I'm going to have to ask her what was it she liked about it. I hope it wasn't the crawlers.
What's not to like?
Maybe she liked the ratio of men to women in the cave system.
This is your favorite movie. Why?
Why?
I feel like I will like this friend.
Conversation. Well, it's Domino.
She got.
Oh, is it?
Right?
Well, I could, yeah. So I can understand the.
Never mind, I get it.
I understand the end scene. She gets to cut a bitch. I mean, who doesn't love a little revenge?
Well, and you got it's all women, so it's strong women characters for the most part.
Girl power.
But they do have the squabbling going on.
It got significantly more uncomfortable for everybody in the group the farther in they got. I mean, yeah, there's that infighting because, hey, we're not doing what I said we were doing.
Right.
Surprise.
You bitch.
But even that first when, she's trying to share an apple with her and like talk to her about, oh, sorry, I didn't stay for the funeral. Sorry, I left Scotland so quickly, yada, yada, yada. It just like every single one of their interactions feels forced and super uncomfortable.
And they'd just be like, I don't want to talk about this and leave.
Yeah.
And then which one was a Holly's like, don't touch me. I don't like to be touched. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty good. I mean, I enjoyed it. I would suggest it to people. If you haven't seen this, check it out.
Worth it.
You get some cave goblins to eat some women. Pun,
all right.
Not intended.
Uh-huh.
James, anything else you want to add? I know you enjoyed a lot of the compound fracture and hand scenes.
Yeah, that was the worst part for me was the compound fracture and all the don't go in there moments that I couldn't help feel.
I liked that when the fingernail scene happened, Ryan went, ugh, and James just goes, yeah! It was like, fuck you, buddy, now it's your turn.
And that's what it feels like.
You were so happy.
And I knew it was coming too. Like I said, I watched this last week, and I knew exactly when it was coming. She got grabbed, and it's like, oh, here it comes. Oh,
fingernails.
I get it. I mean, there's no way, no matter how many times I watch this, I'm going to look straight at the compound fracture and go, doesn't bother me anymore.
That looks tasty. Give it a little lick.
Well, that's what he did right after the fingernail.
It's always good to let the bones
bloody down there.
Let the bones air out. It's good for him.
You like to let them breathe. They're like a Merlot. Ryan, anything else you want to add to this?
Nope. It's great. Go check it out.
Cavernous Delight.
Enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun. I do not like caves, though. I think that's the only reason I haven't watched this is because I knew it was a cave movie. Not my thing.
You do well with Sanctum. It's underwater caves.
Yeah,
Even better.
I remember watching the Poseidon Adventure as a kid and holding my breath when they go through the flooded part. Like, anything that's got that claustrophobic bit, I'm like, no, I don't, no, thank you.
Well, that's how I felt about it, too, is almost like underwater.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
How'd you feel about the underwater scene in Alien Resurrection?
Getting crushed. I mean, Alien's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But if it's one of those where it's just, you're not running from something, it's just time and you're going to die if you don't do it, you have to do it. Or like The Abyss.
Ooh, that was a good one.
Yeah. Ugh, that bugs me. I don't love it.
Yeah.
That's why my pool's only 5 feet deep and I'm 6'3".
Touche.
All right, that is The Descent. Thanks for listening. Go check out robgilchristbooks.com. Setters for Suckers, Tides of Shadow, Waves of Fury. We just finished primary filming for Ryan's movie, The Rental. We've got a little bit left to do, and then we'll start editing that. So hopefully that'll be coming out in the near future. I don't even want to suggest what it's going to be because we've got a lot of sound we got to do on this one.
I was going to say we got 50 or 60 hours worth of editing and
It's
sound
gonna take
audio to do.
It's going to take a minute.
Yeah.
But it's coming. Yep. Thanks for listening. Go check out The Descent. If nothing else, just for the compound fracture.
Yeah.
It's delightful. Dante's Peak style. All right. Thanks for listening. Charlie?
Are we?